Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jeremy Schumacher. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm the Jer in Wellness with Jer. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the channel today. Longtime viewers will note I'm using a green screen for the first time. My basement flooded, and I'm trying a different recording spot, and this recording spot I just have a green screen behind me. Not every wall in my basement is covered in cool Lord of the Rings and Star Wars posters, unfortunately. So here we are in the new spot, trying out the green screen. We'll see. It doesn't love that I have long hair, so that's all right. We're here for content, not for looking nice. I want to talk about shout out to Milwaukee Film right away, which I am a member. Not bragging; it's a super great deal to be a Milwaukee Film member. Um, the film we saw last month at the members only screening, which again is a good deal. Support your local cinema. It was Sunlight. Sunlight came out in 2024. It's a British film. It is, if you've seen anything for it, it's a giant monkey suit and a person riding in an RV. Right? Sold already. We're in. Yeah. It's directed by Nina Conti, who's also stars in it, and also stars Shanoa Allen, who also helps write it. It's really good. I have to always sort of do like my spoiler-free version, right? As far as like mental health goes, I really liked it. I'm biased. It reminded me a lot of Frank, um, the 2014. It's off the top of my head. I could be wrong on that. 2014 film, just titled Frank, which is about a fictional band. Was that's the band's name. It's supposed to be unpronounceable. It stars Michael Fassbender, but you never really see him. He's wearing a giant paper mache head. And Maggie Gyllenhaal is also in it. And Frank is one of my favorite, probably my favorite mental health movie. Lars and the Real Girl is up there too. But Frank's probably my favorite mental health movie. And Sunlight has a lot of that. A main character who's dealing with some mental health things, who is using a costume or mask to truly mask themselves from the rest of the world. And a lot of differences between Sunlight and Frank, but I'm just sort of saying I really like Frank, and I like how much you can sort of play around with the mental health of a character who is obviously playing a character. Um, and it gets kind of meta and trippy, and that's fun, I think, because it creates sort of a blank canvas for us to project our own feelings onto. And Monkey in this film also does this. And I think it does a really good job. I think it is human in a way that a lot of mental health movies aren't. And it's one of the things that I really push for with when I talk about mental health. I don't do a ton of editing here on the YouTube channel, green screen notwithstanding. I'm still doing this in one take, you know. The podcast I have, Your Therapist Needs Therapy, we leave the likes and the uhs and the ums in. We interrupt each other because I think that's how real people talk. And when so much of our discourse around mental health is through this very polished, tight lens that doesn't allow for errors and mistakes, and it's really clean dialogue, and it's like, I don't know, humans are much more akin to Jerry Springer episode, and fighting and yelling over each other and interrupting than like a Marriage Story, the movie. So I don't know. I didn't see it. I'm a marriage therapist. I didn't watch a couples drama. That's my real job. I don't need that noise. But yeah, Sunlight is really good. I'm gonna try and stay spoiler free here until I very loudly alert you that I am not spoiler free. I also have a different chair that I'm recording it in, so I don't have to do it with my hands. You can see them. Again, leaving it in. Don't do a ton of editing. Sunlight starts with Roy. It's one of our main characters checking into a dingy hotel and attempting suicide. And as he's attempting suicide, he looks out the window and sees a full body monkey suit person. He sees a person in a monkey suit staring in his window. And when he comes to, he's in his RV and Monkey is driving and he's in the passenger seat and the movie is off to the races. And I think, man, I gotta try not to do spoilers for Frank either. Let's say spoilers from here on out. Still keeping it spoiler free. Go see Sunlight. It's good. It's like $3 on Amazon Prime or YouTube or whatever. Probably, I don't know, supported YouTube better than supporting Amazon. I don't know who to support. Support independent film, I guess, is where I land. However, you can get this movie, it is worth a watch. And yeah, that's it. Now it's going to be spoilers because I got to sort of talk about the plot in order to talk about the mental health in the movie. Um, Monkey and Roy are off to the races in their RV, having Monkey having saved Roy from his suicide attempt, and they are road tripping. Monkey needs a ride to Colorado because they want to open a business involving a boat and a banana inflatable that you ride behind the boat. It's a solid business plan, especially with the monkey branding, I think. And Monkey refuses to sort of let Roy drive until Roy agrees to take Monkey to Colorado. And so it's a road trip movie ultimately. Um, in a lot of ways, it's a buddy road trip movie, except in this case, it's a full-bodied monkey costume and a like pretty capable ventriloquist under it. I think Nina Conti, her other film, which I haven't seen, or I don't know if she is this. This was a little tiny preamble before we started watching the movie at Milwaukee Film, but the that she did a movie about ventriloquism, so it's a thing she knows a lot about. Um, I wouldn't have watched a ventriloquist movie if I had known it was about ventriloquism, so I don't think that plays into it too much. The the Roy is then going to stop by his dad's grave to dig up his dad to tell him to fuck off because he didn't get to do that while his dad was alive and he wants to do it now that his dad is dead. And also his dad was married, not married. His dad was buried with a very expensive watch. So Roy's going to get this. He's going to split it, the money they make by selling the watch with Monkey to bankroll the boat business. And that's like the movie, right? And then they go. Um, but it's an oddly tender and very human film. It's one of those things. I felt this way with Frank too. It's a very human film in spite of having a character who's in costume the whole time. Like obviously, movie is any movie is an actor in costume, but like that's really blocking their humanity. You don't see Jane ends up being who we find out is under the monkey suit, but we don't really find out about Jane until later in the movie, maybe like halfway. That might be an exaggeration, but like probably over a quarter of the movie, we don't know who's under the costume. Um, and like Jane's doing the ventriloquism bit, working the little hand pump to make the mouth move on the monkey suit and using like a fake voice. And so again, it's a very human film and it's about connection and I think loneliness and also the monkey suit. And so the movie's messy, right? Like it's not in like it's made poorly, but the dialogue is sort of all over the place. They are doing a road trip movie, but they're not doing bits like it's on a road trip. They're bored. They make up songs about how many holes the body has so that they can pass the time. And if you've ever been on a long road trip, you go a little bit stir crazy in the car and start singing along. You do some weird karaoke. You got like your jams that you're singing along to. I'm a really terrible singer, so that doesn't go well for me unless I'm by myself. What's Up by Four Non Blondes can really belt it out when I'm by myself. The the movie takes a bit of a turn when we find out why Jane, who's under the monkey suit, is in the monkey suit and why Jane feels they need to stay as monkey. Jane feels that she makes too many mistakes as Jane. and Monkey is far more likable and much more in control of things, much more confident and sure of themselves, whereas Jane makes a mess of things and therefore can't be trusted. And I think it's a really interesting thing. Jane shares a pretty significant trauma history. Like, I don't know, it's a movie about mental health, so trigger warnings, but about abuse and grief and loss. And again, it's abuse. There's a lot of abuse. Pretty traumatic. And Jane blames herself for a lot of it, which doesn't seem to be true. Seems like Wade, her stepdad, is really the bad guy in the film and stays the bad guy throughout. And Roy is like a radio host. He does interviewings. He does interviews and sort of does like a radio host gig. And he sort of like talks about how, again, this really interesting juxtaposition that the movie does is Monkey in the monkey suit is very human, and Roy, while doing like these human pieces, he does these interview pieces for radio, adopts this very fake sort of radio host character, and he's got a voice for it and everything, and he doesn't feel anything when he's doing it. And so it's interesting that sort of Jane, by masking her humanity, is more human than Roy, who's almost like hyper human, over the top acting to be human. And they are in this RV on this road trip, and they got to sort of figure out how to connect. And Roy makes up the bed for Monkey and closes little curtains so that they can have privacy and feel comfortable. And Monkey can't sleep, so comes out and cuddles Roy, but like not romantically. Um, Monkey is holding Roy and sort of giving him a hard time about how he's scared of intimacy and doesn't know how to cuddle, and then sort of pops a boner, and they make a lot of jokes about that. But again, it's not like they're falling in love. It's like, we're awkward and this is strange, and the only way we're going to get through it is by sort of acknowledging the awkwardness and the discomfort, and together we'll work past that, and that's how we build some trust. And that's sort of what they do. There's like a real awkward sexual scene that Jane uses to highlight, like, Jane makes poor decisions and makes things weird and sexual, and that's not okay, and it's part of how Jane self-sabotages. And again, I understand the idea of self-sabotage in this context, but also there's pretty extensive trauma history there where probably not a good decision, but also different than the trauma stuff and some of the self-sabotage stuff that Jane shares in her trauma history. But again, it's not like sexy, and it's definitely not like, oh, they're falling in love. It's very like messy and human. Again, I just sort of was charmed by how realistic the movie is, because I'm cynical. I'm a marriage therapist who's not very romantic, and can break down the science of the romance and why it doesn't mean what you think it means in your relationship. And so, yeah, if it would have been a like road trip movie for two people fall in love, I don't know that I would have liked it as much. But it's really not that. It's how people come together and find each other, and like, yeah, there's like a feel good. Seems like they end in a good place together as a couple, perhaps, but it's not like sappy lovey-dovey. It's awkward and uncomfortable in a lot of the time, and what they connect over is how they get through their own discomfort together. So they end up going. Roy stops by his mom for another awkward scene. It's a very human scene, very awkward scene. And she's mad because he mailed her a suicide note and he tried to intercept the note, and his mom got it. So she's pissed that he tried to kill himself. She's pissed that he's still alive. They don't have a good relationship. He's going to go, spit on his dad's grave. And she's pissed about that because she's got this whole like ritualized sort of sacrosanct area honoring his dead father, whom he didn't get along with. So there's that whole mess, and dad was a cop and mom was a cop. And so, I'm reading some of that of like, ooh, having worked with a number of first responders and other police, military-esque types, like that regimented role is a struggle for most people to go from life and death situation at work to like just regular life, where very few of us have life or death situations that we deal with. And if you're not like actively working on it, which spoiler alert, most first responders are not, especially not cops, it's a problem. Goes poorly. Relationships go poorly, especially parenting. And so, yeah, like, there's that little bit of dad was a cop, mom's a cop, and I like can read in a lot to that. The movie doesn't really project a ton around that. But definitely like too rigid and regimented for what Roy probably needed to feel any sort of emotional depth and intimacy. And again, like then Monkey's bringing out this sort of human connection, not romantic intimacy, but human intimacy, like closeness and being vulnerable. Like Monkey met Roy when he's trying to kill himself and saved him and wants him to stay alive. That's part of what they're going through together. So then they go to dig up Roy's dad. And the movie, I think, does a good job of showing how long and uncomfortable it would take to dig 6 feet worth of dirt. They don't have a backhoe to speed that process up, just a shovel. And yeah, he gets to watch and he says some things to his dad. One of the lines that really stuck with me as far as dialogue goes in this movie, there's a lot of funny bits, there's a lot of dark humor, but Roy tells Monkey that like you have to make sure to tell people that you hate to fuck off while they're alive because you don't get the chance once they die. And so he sort of has that moment with the broken off arm of his dad that has the watch on it. And it doesn't paint grave robbing in a fun or easy light because I don't think grave robbing is fun or easy. It's probably pretty gross. And also, like, I'm pretty opposed to the funeral capitalistic thing. Like, I don't know why we're putting dead bodies in boxes 6 feet under the ground. Seems unnecessary. Plant people in biodegradable mushrooms and grow trees out of them. Getting off topic here. And so, like, we sort of have this whole through line of grief that a lot of what Jane is dealing with is unresolved grief from her mom dying, and then the terrible situation she's left with her stepdad, Wade, who's a real piece of shit, and Roy's grief with his dad, and Roy's grief with his unresolved relationship with his mom. And so, in all of this, Wade, who's a real twat because he's been abusing Jane for a long time, um, is mad that she left and is also mad that she has the monkey suit, which apparently is his. And there's a whole thing about a club. I might have been too autistic to pick up on like what the club was. I'm not sure if it was like a sex club or that's me reading into it. It doesn't seem, I don't know. There's a weird thing about the monkey suit. And Wade, who's a real piece of trash and makes Jane sleep on the floor, is after her. Wade doesn't drive a car, so he's biking, which also is like, again, like darkly comedic. As somebody who has a nice-ish bike, it's how my wife and I sort of treated ourselves during COVID, during the shutdown, was to get nice bikes. We're both quite tall people, and so we got bikes with extra large frames, which is what is meant for tall people, but it's like a splurge thing to have a bike with extra large frame. And as somebody who again has some nice biking equipment, there's like a whole other tier of twattery for bicyclists who are like way too serious about it. And it's their only personality trait. And I think that I'm not picking on cyclists. That can be fandom. Any fandom that takes itself too seriously becomes quite pretentious and off-putting. And cyclists can definitely get there. There's a pretentiousness to it, and Wade has that in spades for the twattery pretentiousness of cyclists. And so he's cycling after them, and it's creating this tension in the movie. And so he eventually catches up to them, and he is threatening Jane with a psychiatrist who he knows personally, having her committed, and he has all her rights already, but he's going to send her away. And like, I think the movie's set in the early 2000s. So again, probably varies state by state on how easy this is to do. Can I, as a licensed therapist, have somebody put on a safety watch for 72 hours? Sure. But like, I don't do that, you know? Um, can I call their loved ones, their emergency contact, or a first responder to have that in an emergency? Yeah. But again, like I'm not doing the paperwork to have them committed. They're being elevated to another level of care. So I'm not sure how realistic that was. It feels a little bit more like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest 70s era of like institutionalizing people. Although our current administration wants to bring back institutionalizing people because the for-profit prison system is alive and well, and why not do that with mental health? I guess I don't know. And anyway, so Jane doesn't want to go with Wade, but Wade is threatening to use the legal weight he has to have her committed and say she's unwell. She's wearing a monkey suit all the time, which on some level is a somewhat compelling argument, I suppose. Um, but again, like she's not unwell in the sense that wearing the monkey suit is what is making her unwell. It is Wade that's making her unwell. And so again, like there's this sort of Hollywood happy ending where she gets away from Wade, and I'm doing spoilers at this point. So uh Monkey jumps out of the RV, badly injuring herself, causing Wade to crash. She jumps on him on the bike. Um we're I think left to understand that Wade dies from this, but when my wife and I were talking after the movie, it's like Roy kills Wade. Because I'm not sure that crashing from somebody jumping on you would kill you if it didn't kill the person who jumped out of the moving vehicle. I don't know. I don't know the physics of that. But Wade is then gonna Roy's gonna bury Wade's body in the hole he already dug for his dad's casket to get his dad's watch. So like nice bit of storytelling there. And his mom catches him, and his mom is a police officer. She also goes to get the watch back, which the pawn shop had just convinced Roy was a fake. So there's this whole moment where Roy sort of has this break and like lets all his grief out, and then he finds a ugly wolf costume to wear so that he and Jane can both be in costume, and it's humorous and funny and touching all at the same time. So Roy goes to jail. We find Jane left him a recorded message while they're road tripping on some of his radio interview equipment, and that's like very touching. He gets out after a couple of years and then finds Jane, who has started her boat business with the inflatable banana, and it's nice and it's a happy ending, and it's sort of like it is like it's not sappy. It's a feel good ending that feels earned, but like 2 years in prison for desecrating a grave and just trying to cover up a dead body doesn't seem great. And again, he probably didn't kill Wade if he only got 2 years, but Monkey didn't get anything, so Jane didn't get anything. So we're sort of left unknowing. Um, Roy shouts, "I love you, Monkey," or Jane. I don't remember. It's been a month since I watched it. Um, and like, so they have this "I love you," and then he falls in the water, and the movie ends, and it's pretty delightful. The one thing, from a mental health perspective, I really liked it. Again, I'm not sure that the institutionalized threat is very valid, but it's set in the Southwest, so like maybe Arizona or New Mexico or wherever this is set. I guess they're going to Colorado, but it's got like New Mexico vibe to it. Um, I don't know what the laws are there, you know? Um, so maybe, and again, I was in school in the early 2000s. I mean, I graduated college in 2009. So in the aughts is where I really would have known my stuff. So again, who knows? Maybe it was a real valid threat, but that felt a little bit more of like Hollywood storytelling around mental health, like the evil stepmother who's going to institutionalize you to just create some plot tension. But how Jane responds to trauma, how the suit, even though the outside world would see that as mental illness, is really helpful to her healing. How healing in community is good for both Jane and Roy is all pretty good. Wade being a piece of shit and an abusive piece of shit who doesn't learn anything throughout and just keeps doubling down seems pretty accurate. Roy's mom, again, is like this nice moment of justice is done to the pawn shop dealer and all that stuff. But like that relationship doesn't really seem repaired or healed. We don't see that at all. And it's weird with like grief and death because sometimes when people die, like Roy almost feels better and gets some closure with his dad, but it's because his dad is dead. We don't have that other party to actually deal with and process with. Sometimes acceptance becomes a little easier than if it's with somebody who's still alive and we're still having an ongoing relationship with. But it might have just not really worked in the screenplay or in the movie to have that relationship with his mom be a thing. Um, but the other thing that really stands out is just sort of like the institutions that fail, like radio and like human interviews as like a stand-in for human relationships. And it's interesting, right? Like I'm doing a YouTube video. I brought up my podcast earlier. Like there is this parasocial relationships that we have with people that I think has become like commercialized and isn't the same, and it's I think a symptom of late stage capitalism that some of these things are fill-ins, and we feel it, not just that we feel they are truly important parasocial relationships, but like if that's all you have, you're lacking in some things. And it's interesting to use the monkey suit because we have this pretty famous study in psychology of baby monkeys put in cages with a wire monkey versus a monkey that's sort of covered in like a softer material to simulate a real monkey. And the monkeys who are the wire moms die. And again, that's horrific study, lots of animal abuse. It's a cruel and unusual thing to put a living creature through, and pretty definitively show that like we need that close physical intimacy. Um, and that serves a purpose for us in feeling safe and comfort and connection. And so these parasocial relationships are lacking in sort of this core instance of connection, and we need that. And I think the movie does a really good job of that without getting too sappy or tropey about the romance side of it. The connection piece of it, that being vulnerable with another human and being able to repair a relationship through some awkwardness and through some tension, is really where we connect. And that's what makes the movie kind of lovely and weird and awkward. And like I liked it because it doesn't hit some of those tropes. Um, and it's pretty accurate, I think, for how humans actually emote and do mental health, as opposed to some of the more, I don't know, sappy or sensationalized things. So I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think you should go see it. I think the soundtrack was a miss. Is my one real criticism of the movie. Not that it's bad. It doesn't take away at all. I just think for a road trip movie, you usually think like it's got a good soundtrack. And it's a Radiohead song, but I don't even think that hit. I'm not opposed to Radiohead at all. The soundtrack was a miss. I don't know. My opinion doesn't take away from the movie at all. It's still a great movie. I think you should go see it. It's a lot of fun. And again, it's one of those movies that I think makes people think about mental health differently. If I think of some of my clients who are like neurodivergent, probably relate to it, but like their family members who don't get it, like this is a good movie for like, yeah, they might do something that doesn't make sense to you, but like if it makes them happy and healthy, like we can support that. And that's what makes me sort of think about like Frank and Lars and the real girl. That idea that like community can come together and that can be really healing without needing to pathologize whatever coping behavior people are using, assuming it's not doing harm, right? Safety first, everybody. So yeah, Sunlight, it's really good film. Um, Go see it. Go watch it. It's good. Recommend it to people who like their quirky movies. Recommend it to people who need to practice empathy, especially about mental health. And yeah, enjoy that. Support your local film organizations, local filmmakers, independent film, all that stuff. Again, shout out to Milwaukee Film. So that's where I saw this, our historical theater. So yeah, that's what I got for you today. If you want me to do other reviews, talk about other media, do song reviews, probably be doing Peacemaker season 2 soon. Is what I got loaded up soon. So drop down in the comments if you got something you want me to talk about. Like and subscribe. That helps people find my work. Otherwise, that's what I got for everybody today. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Peace.